All right, Shalom. Before I begin, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. I would like to say double honors to my teachers, the apostles, and the elders of Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned this truth from, and also Shalom, and salutations to the brothers out there of the hopeful elect that are preaching this word in truth and sincerity. All right, so I'm the brother Shaquat from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal. Back with another lesson, and this lesson that I'm going to be getting into today is going to be inspired based off a video that I was watching from the channel name of the brother is GMS Yorkshire, and I believe his name is Ibadia, right? And his recent video was entitled "A Lack of Discipline," and yeah, something along those lines, or a lack of discipline. Matter of fact, so I'm just gonna get it right away. Yeah.
Right.
So there it is. No.
Oh,
Bad behavior and a lack of discipline. Right. So that's the video that inspired this lesson. But specifically, there was something that he mentioned, and that was dealing with what is known as main character syndrome, right? And that's what sparked the idea and gave the inspiration for this lesson. So without further ado, I'm going to begin with getting the definition of what it means to have or to be or possess main character syndrome. All right, so I looked it up in ChatGPT, and the question I posed was, what does main character syndrome mean? Main character syndrome is a popular term used to describe someone who behaves as if they are the center of the universe or the main character in a story, like a movie or a TV show, often exaggerating their importance in everyday situations. Right. And this concept, this syndrome has taken hold on a lot of people today, man, in today's day and age. Why? Because of social media. For one, which social media is one of the greatest tools ever invented, right? And it could be used for wickedness and folly, or it could be used for righteousness and information to increase in knowledge, right? And that's pretty much why the internet was made, for the gospel's sake, because it is prophesied that this gospel has to reach the four corners of the earth, and everybody has to have heard or came across this form of teaching, which is the form of teaching that the Lord gave to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and the only way that is accomplished, for the gospel to reach the four corners of the earth, it's through the internet, social media, whether it may be YouTube, Instagram, and so on and so forth, right? So Instagram, Salakia, social media, and the internet is a major contributor to this concept of, main character syndrome, right? Because a lot of people, they do think that they are the main character, of this life. They think that they are that important person, right? Even though they may not be, because what social media is doing is it's giving everybody a platform, right? Everybody can have an Instagram account, everybody can have a YouTube channel, so they could basically spew out their mind and their perception on things, making them think that, okay, this is my opinion and this is what it is, this matters, right? It's basically doing away with the concept of superiority and someone that's below somebody, right? Hence those memes of it's basically trying to put everybody on an equal level, which not everybody's on an equal level, bro. Not everybody's a main character. You know, the main character of this story is Yahushua first and foremost, and then the elect of the nation of Israel, and then the Israelites. Man, that's the order of who's the main character of this life, right? You know, but people have it in their mind to basically act and behave and carry themselves in a way that everything around them revolves around them, man. And that's not the right mindset to have, you know. So let's continue on. It says it usually involves attention-seeking behavior, right? You know, attention-seeking behavior. Hence, having a platform, right, like YouTube. You're seeking attention if you upload a video saying a particular thing, or putting a comment up, or Instagram, right? Building an Instagram account, posting pictures and boasting about things that you have, and others don't. That's attention seeking. Flexing, for lack of better words. That's attention seeking, or what you were doing, or where you're at, a place where nobody else. Just showing that's attention seeking. And a lot of people think that is not attention seeking, but that's what Instagram and these different social media platforms are for, man, to be seen. Continuing on, it says thinking their experiences are more important or dramatic than others, right? Instagram post, whatever, Snapchat post, and so on and so forth, right? Acting as if everything revolves around them, romanticizing their life in an unrealistic or self-centered way, making others into supporting characters in their life story, right? So that's what the main character syndrome is, all right? But that's not the spirit that we're supposed to be in, with the fact that this spirit or this concept is so heavy now more than ever, goes to indicate and show that we're at the end, because the scriptures prophesied about a time like this, right? So let's go from there to the book of 2 Timothy 3. I'm going to start out verse 1. It says, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves," or for men shall be a main character, shall have or be in the main character syndrome, man. That's you being a lover of yourself, right? Basically putting yourself ahead of everyone. And that could also be synonymous with being a narcissist, man, or being narcissistic, right? It says, "For men shall be lovers of their own selves," and we're seeing that at its height, man, today, right? It says, "Covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy," right? And that's what we're seeing, being covetous, being a boaster, being proud by what you post on Instagram, flexing, coveting what somebody else had and wanting it for yourself, right? Blasphemers, wearing all sorts of idols, the Jesus piece, right? That's you blaspheming the Most High, because by you wearing that chain, you're basically proclaiming that idol and basically blaspheming, because the Lord does not look like that, right? Being disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, a lack of manners, a lack of manners, because you thinking that you're the main character, you might walk into a room and not look at nobody or greet anybody. Why? Because you think it's all about you. You know, you want all the eyes to basically be fixated on you. You know, which that's not the right spirit to be in. You know, like I said, right? Supporting cast. Matter of fact, let's see. That's what I read in the example. It says, imagine someone walking into a cafe slowly with headphones on, pretending they're in a movie montage while ignoring everyone else around them. Or, while ignoring everyone else around them. Right? So that's you being a main character. That's you having no manners, man. Because when you actually walk into a room, you're supposed to greet people. Not thinking that, yo, I'm the man, I'm all that. Like, yo, nah, man, you're supposed to greet people. That's what it's supposed to be. But that concept has been done away with in this day and age, especially in the West, man. It says, or someone who always redirects conversations back to themselves and their problems. So let's go back to the precept. 2 Timothy 3 and verse 3 says, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of the Most High. And that's the society that we live in now. All these things listed, right? And these all could tie into you being, or having that main character syndrome. All right. But our ancestors, they did not have that, sort of mindset. They were more in the spirit. They were more in tune with spiritual things. Because you having that main character syndrome, it's a fleshly thing. It's a thing to make you feel good. And everything that comes with the flesh is going to come with that feeling good for a moment, temporarily. But our ancestors, they had, they were spiritual, man. They wanted everything to do with the spirit. That's what made them good, right? That's what made them feel good. Salaki was doing the right things in the eyes of the Heavenly Father, and not every ancestor, of course, of ours, but I'm talking about the righteous ones, the ones that were well-pleasing to the Most High, man. The examples that were left behind for us. So this is Romans 8 and verse 5. It says, they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. Right, and that's what the main character syndrome develops. A fleshly outlook on things, a fleshly mind. So everything around you is going to be geared towards the flesh. It says, but they that are after the spirit, things of the spirit. Right, it says, for to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Right, because if you're spiritually minded, you understand where you stand. You understand order, and you don't want to overlap somebody or jump over somebody, even though they're more skilled and better at something than you. Right? You accept your lot. That's being spiritually minded, which brings life and peace, order. All right? And that was the case with our forefather, man, King Solomon. That's what basically brought peace and order, or contributed to the peace and order of his kingdom. Everybody understanding their role, but also King Solomon understanding that, okay, I have to take care of minds as well. I can't be proud and hoard all this for myself, because that's also something that comes with the main character syndrome, is you being greedy, man. But that's not the case with King Solomon. He was willing to share what he had with everybody around him that was of his kin, his kinsmen. All right? This is 1 Kings 10 and verse 1. It says, when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord Yahweh, she came to prove him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train with camels that bear spices and very much gold and precious stones. And when she was come to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart. And Solomon told her all her questions. There was not anything hid from the king, which he told her not. And when the queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his ascent by which he went up unto the house of the Lord Yahweh, there was no more spirit in her. And she said to the king, It was a true report that I heard in mine own land of thine acts and of thy wisdom. Howbeit I believed not the words until I came, and mine eyes had seen it, and behold, the half was not told me. Thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard. Happy are thy men, happy are these thy servants which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom. Right. So when we jump to verse 5, it goes into the way King Solomon treated his servants, his ministers, his cupbearers, and so on and so forth. He made sure that they were good as well, right? So King Solomon did not have a greedy mindset. He was willing to share what was his, because that's also a part of the law that the Heavenly Father gave to the Israelites. To not be greedy, to not flex on somebody that doesn't have anything at that moment, man. But to actually help them up to get on a level, man. So let's jump from there to the book of Leviticus 19 and verse 9. It says, And when you reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field, neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest. And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of thy vineyard. Thou shalt leave them to the poor and stranger. I am the Lord Yahweh, your power. Right? So this was a commandment, a law that was given to us. It's that we shouldn't, if we have a land and we're living a particular way, you might be rich, your harvest might be plenteous. The Lord said, don't gather everything for yourself, but leave some in the corners for those that might need it. That's not a greedy mindset. That's a mindset where, okay, I'm helping somebody, and you having that mindset, basically yields harmony, man. Because let's say a poor person or a stranger might have gleaned, from the corners or the remnants of your harvest that you left behind for them, and that might give them a kickstart. They might be in a jam, but that might give them a kickstart, and they never know, man. That might help them, and then later on down the line, they're on a level. You're in a jam. They're gonna help you out a lot more than just leaving, the corners, man. Because they're gonna remember that time, he helped me out. So that yields harmony, man. And peace. Right? And that's the mindset we should have, not the main character mindset. Alright, so Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to say, Call Halayim La Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai Ba'Hashem Ruchakudash. The belongings once again to my teachers, the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned this truth from, and Shalom and salutations to the elect.